So how do we bring you as a recruiter and the human, as you describe them, how do you find those people? How does that relationship work? Are the people who are watching this, are they out looking for recruiters to work with, or are you looking for talent and then you'll reach out to them? Is there anything proactive that someone can do?
I do think that there are things proactive that people can do, but we always need to, I think, index to or fall back to the recruiters are working to fill a requisition. But that again, that doesn't mean that job seekers can't be proactive and shouldn't develop relationships with recruiters. You just have to kind of temper your expectations and perhaps approach those with a lot of patience because the connection you make today with a recruiter may or may not immediately inherently lead you to job interviews next week. If you're successful developing that relationship and it is a good recruiter, we can try to define that and help folks identify how they can discern if a recruiter is worth developing that relationship with. That relationship can vary over time. That recruiter will know of other organizations that are hiring that they may not be directly involved in. They'll know of other hiring events and communities and things that they may be able to introduce you, job seeker, into. They'll have a perspective and opinion and some knowledge of the kind of general employment marketplace that can be useful to you. The value you should be seeking from them is greater than and perhaps maybe harder to identify than specifically a job or an interview. How else might they be able to benefit your search? I don't know that I can answer that question in a broad generalization, but think about that relationship in more than a job interview, and there's lots of things that you may be able to take from it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you touched on some great points there that makes a good recruiter, someone who has that network, someone who's willing to look a little bit beyond their immediate requisition list. What about the other way around? What makes a good client?
So to be clear, client is a company hiring, or client is a candidate?
Thank you for clarifying. Candidate. What makes a good candidate? I'm interested in trying to sort of bring you and candidates together to
Sure.
work well. So what are you looking for? What can our candidate fields be doing? What are you looking for?
And again, it varies requisition by requisition and client by client, right? Because that need is focused on a specific job and then the needs of that organization. So what a recruiter or what I am looking for is going to vary just about every single time. The common themes, and certainly when you're thinking about how to approach a recruiter and how to present yourself to a recruiter, you're first and foremost assuming that it is focused on the job. It's having as deep an understanding of the job and the organization as you can possibly have. And then wherever your understanding starts to falter, you have amazing questions. You've demonstrated your research and you've demonstrated understanding. You've developed to a point, and you're expressing a significant amount of curiosity to get to the next level of detail and understanding. That's really how you set yourself apart. To the point now that for the last 10 plus years of my career, I start the vast majority of my candidate interviews with questions from the candidate to me, which generally most interviewers leave to the end. I start with it. Here's my really quick pitch on this job in this organization. I want to make sure you have this context. What questions do you have for me? Because I can make an assessment on folks pretty quickly about their level of interest and or their level of preparation and their motivations based on the questions that they ask me. If they don't have any really specific questions about the job or the organization, I can tell they haven't done any research, and I question their level of interest and commitment. If their first questions for me are all about compensation and benefits and other things, that's an indicator. May not always be negative, but it's an indicator of their motivations, etc. So again, how you set yourself apart and what makes a good candidate really starts with preparation and the types of questions that you're asking and Really starts with preparation and the knowledge that you bring to some of those early calls.
Yeah, yeah, and I really like the how a candidate signals their motivation and interest via the questions that they ask.
For sure.
Um,
Another thought I had on like how how you set yourself apart is you you have an honest, balanced perspective of your fit, and you should absolutely be prepared to demonstrate your alignment with requirements and your fit. Uh, However, you understand that most times, most resumes or CVs are not a perfect match or not 100% fit, and you have an honest assessment of that. It's an interesting dynamic because you don't want to undercut yourself and expose all of your weaknesses or flaws. You want to lead with your strength and be able to present that. But at the same time, you can't be everything to every requirement. You can't be everything to everyone. So having an honest understanding of where your limitations are is important. And then being able to speak to what you believe you can do or what you are currently doing to overcome those weaknesses, what training or whatever it is that you believe is going to help you overcome. As a recruiter, I think that not only that self-awareness, that humility, but also the ability to kind of help craft that story as we're moving forward, and I then take that information and present it to my client or my employer to help justify moving this individual along. It's an important thing. It's really useful, I think, to build trust with that recruiter as well, early in your relationship.
yeah, I think yeah, I really agree with it's unlikely you're going to have 100% bullseye. The whole nature of how job descriptions are written and how we perceive our own skills and strengths, there's always going to be a bit of a mismatch, even if you are the perfect person for the role. So I often say, whilst you might not have 100%, at the same time, if you're having to stretch or change more than 20% of what you've got,
Yeah.
then you're probably not going to be a good fit. And having the self-awareness to appreciate that is an important step, because otherwise you're wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, and even more so than wasting time, you're probably damaging yourself emotionally. There's lots of folks, and we can both scroll our own LinkedIn feeds and see a post of hundreds of applications, maybe thousands, and then a conversion rate to interview that's not very good, and then 0 job offers, and then like this people venting their frustrations and things. And I have a completely different kind of opinion or description of like those posts specifically. But my point here is that if you understand, like to your point, if you're needing to shift more than 20%, then it's probably not the best fit, and you're putting yourself out there and consuming your time and energy in an attempt that may not be successful. And what does that do to you emotionally over the course of your broader job search? Your time and your energy is probably spent elsewhere, but better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Focus is key in this game. Absolutely.